You don't want a guy who needs you at your best all the time. You want a guy who sticks around through the highs and the lows, because this, my friend, this is what love is. Hey, this is Evan Marcotte, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome back to the Love You podcast. Very excited for today's episode about intimacy, whether you are going towards it or whether you're going away from it. Before we get started, just a quick reminder. If you enjoy the Love You podcast, please tell a friend. Please go to Apple or Spotify, give us a positive review, something nice, even if you're just clicking on the 5-star button. And most importantly, if you are a listener, a regular listener, and you are tired of listening and not having the love life that actually lifts you and buoys you and takes care of you and makes you feel like $1 million every day, if you don't have someone in your life who is a male and you are heterosexual, etc., if that's what you want and you don't have it, do something. Stick around to the end of the call and I will tell you how. Now, today, I want to talk about a client of mine who is in a relationship with a guy, and her history is sort of fraught. It's not unusual for my clients to have questionable relationships with their fathers and later questionable relationships with men. And so this client is never married, and consciously/unconsciously, she's always chosen emotionally unavailable men. That's the safest thing to choose. If you choose a guy who's in a different state, if you choose a guy who's married, if you choose a guy who is really busy, successful businessman, doesn't have much time, if you choose a guy who's doesn't really want to get into a serious relationship, you'll end up with the same results always. If you always choose those kind of men, it's very easy to go 50 some odd years without getting married. So now she's got a guy who's treating her really, really well. And she had a moment recently where she was extremely vulnerable. And this is not who she is. She is almost the stereotype of the cool girl. She's really, really fun, up for anything. Really, she's got a great personality and is genuinely like a good time in the best possible way. Says yes, very adventurous. And because she doesn't have kids, she's not anchored to home. So she's really great and is a perfect person for someone to date. So she's got this guy who's really crazy about her, and then she hurts herself. And he drops everything. He takes her to the hospital. He takes off from work, brings her to the hospital, oversees her. He's on the phone with the doctors. He's on the phone with the pharmacy. He's putting together a care package. He's wheeling her to and from the car. Whatever. I'm fleshing out the details, but basically the boyfriend really, really steps up in a way that she's not used to. It's a little bit scary for someone who is not used to men treating her as wife material. So this guy was married for a long period of time. This is what you do for someone you care about and ostensibly love. So then after she recovers from her injury, guy says, great, let's take a vacation. Right, let's celebrate. Let's go somewhere. And she's not feeling her 100% self. Let's say she's at 80%. And so she says to me on our coaching call, I told him I had to think about going away with him. And I said, well, why? I don't understand. I'm not at my best. And I said, he knows that. He was with you through your worst. So he knows that you're not at your best. Well, he's asking me to go away, and that means he's probably going to want to do something adventurous, like he's going to want to go jet skiing, or, we're going to want to have crazy hotel sex. And I don't know if I'm that. So, maybe he should just go by himself or go with a buddy or something like that. And so I started to dig into this from a coach's perspective, and I understand where she was coming from. In her past, this is the way she's gone about dating. It's been to be the cool girl, always be a good time, always be up for anything, be the most fun person who has no needs of her own, no weaknesses of her own, no vulnerabilities of her own. And so she got guys who wanted women who were completely perfect and invulnerable and didn't have any needs. And she got relationships that were like that. They were good time relationships with very little length and depth. And so now she's got a guy who actually wants to see her, and he would rather have her at 80% of her best self with him on vacation than to go on vacation by himself, right? Or with a buddy and go jet skiing or whatever. Like, she couldn't calculate that. she literally thought she was only worthy of going with the guy if she was that person. And we dug a little bit deeper. A lot of this had to do with sex, right? Like if I say no, if I'm not up to it, if I don't want to do it multiple times a day, I mean, it's kind of what you do on vacation, maybe I shouldn't even go at all. And it was just like a total miscalculation in my perspective on her part. Yeah, I share this because it's a worldview that certainly a lot of women I coach have, that they have to be something to a man instead of just being who you are with your warts and your flaws and your fears and your neuroses. Men want to be the person you lean on. We want to feel needed. This guy got to feel like the hero taking care of her when she was sick. And now there's a chance for them to come closer together, to deepen their relationship, to take a vacation together. And she's saying no to him. So what does she succeed in doing by saying no? She keeps intimacy at bay, perfectly keeps intimacy at bay. We have some momentum. We got closer during these trials. And now that we have a chance to get closer and he says, let's spend more time together. No, you go yourself. And what has she just done? She's just slammed on the brakes of intimacy instead of allowing for a deeper escalation of their relationship driven by him because he wants to be there for her, because he wants to spend more time with her, even platonically, if it's not adventurous and wild sex, etc. So this is her pattern. And so I pose it to you listening. Is this your pattern? When you find a guy who really wants to get to know you and is sincere about you, do you pretend to have it all together? Do you get too busy? Do you keep him at arm's length? Do you think that you have to be perfect or he's going to leave you? And where does that belief come from? Because it's not true. Any guy who's worth your time for a long-term relationship is going to need to see you at your vulnerable self and your worst self. You can't just be on all the time for him out of fear that he's going to abandon you. The men who abandon you because you got sick or because you don't feel well are not men worth having. And you got to wrap your head around that. You don't want a guy who needs you at your best all the time. You want a guy who sticks around through the highs and the lows, because this, my friend, this is what love is. If you're looking for love and you're not letting a man see all of you, right, you're putting a ceiling on what your relationship is really capable of with all the beauty, authenticity, and vulnerability. And again, it all starts to sound like buzzwords at a certain point, but I swear it's true. My wife had a moment this weekend, without disclosing too much, where she was feeling very vulnerable and she had tears coming down her face, and the kids were away from the house. And I just sat with her in the backyard and listened to her for like an hour. And it's painful to watch her go through whatever she's going through. It's not about our relationship, for whatever it's worth, but it's painful to watch her go through what she's going through and know that she ultimately has to be the one to take care of those things herself. And all I could do is be a loving partner and husband and stand and advocate for her ability to get through this and grow and change, very much the way I do for my clients. And so the reason I share that is not to make me the hero of the story, but merely to point out that I wouldn't want my wife, who is generally a happy-go-lucky person, who doesn't tend to spend too much time on introspection or self-help or things like that. It makes me feel bad that she's in that position, but it makes me feel good that our relationship is strong enough and that she can lean on me, right? I'm not just the guy who pays the bills and, redoes the backyard and sends the kids to summer camp. And right, I'm not, this isn't an exchange of money for sex. It's not what a 15-year marriage is based on. It's really based on this thing that we're going through right now as a couple. You should have someone who does that for you. And if you don't, you're with the wrong man. My name is Evan Mark Katz. This is the Love You Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to Apple, go to Spotify, leave us a 5-star review, say something nice in the comments. I read them. I do. I'll admit it. If you're on YouTube, all right, subscribe, click on the bell, get notified when new content comes out as soon as it does come out. If you are listening and you want to be part of our new coaching reader question series, please go to evanmarckatz.com/questions and submit a written question about your love life, or apply for coaching, for free coaching. And we will get on the phone and do some live video coaching where I could hopefully answer your deepest dating and relationship dilemma. And if you don't just have a question, but you want to redo your whole love life and fix your broken man picker, go to evanmarckatz.com/apply. Give me your name and email address, and I will give you a video on how to fix your broken man picker and choose a man who's going to take care of you for the rest of your life, so you can relax and let down your guard and know that it's all going to be okay. I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you for your time, and I will see you here on the Love You Podcast.